What is the maximum temperature the human body can reach? This is an interesting question, and it depends largely on the humidity and time of exposure. In this video, I will explain using Celsius temperature. However, Fahrenheit temperature also applies, but with different numbers. Our cells start to die around 41 to 45 degrees, but we can survive much higher air temperatures. A healthy person could make a day trip to Death Valley on one of its hottest days, 55 degrees. And as long as he avoided dehydration, would probably not die. In fact, he would be okay as long as he had access to water, preferably stored at a room temperature lower than 55 degrees, because it would be actually painfully hot to touch at that point. In water, the upper limit seems to be about 50 degrees for short-term exposure, but couple of degrees hotter first and second degrees burns appear within minutes. That said, almost no one who claims that his hot tub is 49 degrees is telling the truth, because 49-degree water is extremely uncomfortable, and if you didn't have a thermometer there, you would think it was 60 to 80 degrees. Most hot tubs run at 38 to 42 degrees, and 46 seems to be the highest that anyone has intentionally set for exposure. And people who do ultra hot tub exposure generally don't stay for long. 46 water is painful to touch. What about air temperature? Well, people can survive dry air temperature well over 120 degrees in short term. Such levels are achieved in saunas, although most people find it uncomfortable, and the sport of competitive sauna is actually quite dangerous, even though people aren't exposed to the 110 degrees heat for more than a few minutes. Higher temperature, probably up to 300 degrees, are survivable for short bursts, like measured in seconds, or with protective cloth, but again, no one would consider that sustainable. With humid air, the limits are much lower. You can withstand 45 degrees at 100% humidity in the short term, although you wouldn't last a night in there. But around 50 degrees it becomes acutely fatal because the water vapor can condense in your lungs. More interesting is the question of what climactic temperature are sustainable on the scales of hours or days. With enough water, you would survive 24 hours of exposure to 45 degrees air temperatures. For water, we assume that the body temperature will reach its environmental temperature, so you would be miserable as hell after 24 hours in a 39 degrees hot tub, but you probably wouldn't die. Most deaths in heat waves are from cumulative heat stress over days and weeks, rather than heat stroke, and that has more to do with long periods of exposure to moderate than acute kind. 45 degrees will give you heat stroke if you are dumb enough to go running without bringing water, but you will be fine if you stay in the shade. On the other hand, if you sleep in a concrete building with no air conditioning and the nighttime air temperature is still over 30 degrees, you are putting your health at risk. Most of these deaths aren't attributed to heat stroke or even directly tied to heat, but come from natural bodily causes like heart attacks. Take the hellish heatwave that hit Europe in 2003. While the French government knows that about 10,000 people died because the hospital saw a rise in deaths, it is impossible to say which people died because of heat. In the same way that you can't say which people got cancer because of a radiation accident. While it is hard to measure because unlike heat stroke, heat stress death and injuries are diffuse. Long-term heat danger seems to be more of a function of nighttime temperature than daytime highs. I would suggest that the upper limit of indefinite survivability is somewhere around 35 degrees, noting that almost no natural climatic environment maintains that temperature for more than 24 hours. Even the hottest deserts in the peak of summer typically dip into low 30 at night. As for me personally, I start to complain about the heat at 25 degrees Celsius. This is all I have for you today. If you like the video, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new content. Thank you for watching.